Hi kids. Alright, this is video number 2 for your KNEX tethered motor training. A couple things I want to go over with you, and that is the motor basics. A couple things to keep in mind. Wait 1 minute. Here we go. Had a checklist. I want to go over everything. Make sure you don't miss anything. There are 2 power takeoffs in this motor, okay? Now, a power takeoff is how a rod can be attached into the motor so that it gives you power to turn things, okay? Now, the first type of power takeoff is the side power takeoff, okay? And so the rod goes right through the motor like this. It might take a little bit of effort to push it through there, okay? There are tension springs in here that kind of like hold the rod in place, and those are a safety thing, so if the motor starts to jam up, those will release, and you'll hear a click, click, click like in the other motors, and you'll know you need to shut off the power right away. But you'll notice that when you do a side connection, that the axle wants to slide. So the very important thing that you must do right off the bat is make sure that you secure that axle in place, okay? And I always like to tell kids to keep it symmetrical, so make sure that your connectors go in the right way, that sort of thing, okay, like that. And then make sure that it's spaced evenly from there to there, especially if you're building a car or something. That's when it becomes really important. Sometimes when you're building other things, you want it off to the end, so you pull it tight like that, okay? So that's really important. Now, one thing that I need to emphasize is that when you attach the wheels to your axle, you have to use a tan lock, okay? If you don't use a tan lock, the wheel, when you turn it on, it'll look like it's spinning, but really it's not fixed. So it's functioning as a free spinning axle versus a fixed axle. You want this wheel to spin because even though it looks like it's spinning, you put it down on the surface or you turn it to the side and it's going to fall off and not spin. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you use a tan lock to secure your wheel. And then always use another connector on the other side so it doesn't fall off like you saw. Okay, so that makes it a fixed axle. So now when you feel that, you can feel that the wheel wants to spin. Now if you disconnect it and you turn it on and you do this, notice how the axle spins in the wheel, okay? So anyways, that's important. Now like I said earlier, you have to do it on both sides, and one of the things that I always emphasize is that you keep everything looking the same, the directions and everything. Put your wheel on there like so, and then you attach your connector to secure it on. Now what I always do whenever I'm using an axle like this as a car axle, I always make sure it's centered and make sure everything is pulled out as far as it can. Okay, that keeps it all secure. All right? Now, when you are taking apart the side connection, what you want to do is just slide your wheel down, pull that off, then remove the wheel. Don't worry about the tan lock yet. Go to the other side. Notice how I'm sliding this axle back and forth. Take that off, and now my little connector, tan lock right there, you can put this down on your desk like this, slide it in, and you can slide this all the way back, and then put 2 fingers over it and cover it and press down. And that way it comes right off. You don't have to hurt your fingers. But it's really, really important that when you do that, okay, now I'm going to take it off completely. Now my axle is free. I can pop that off. And now I have this tan lock on there, so I can just slide it to the center. 2 fingers on it, cover it, because if you don't cover it, it's going to fly away and you're going to lose it. All right? Press down and off it comes. Okay? So that's the side connection. Now for the front power takeoff. You're not going to use this very often, but when you do, it's really handy. Okay? Now, the tricky part about this is that when you put your rod in, okay, it's going to make a click. At first, you put it in, and you think that you've clicked it in there, okay? And then you take and you say, okay, now I'm going to put a gear on it. So you put your tan lock in there, and then you put your yellow gear on there, and you think, okay, it's fixed, it's secure, and you make sure that it's, you know, everything's perfect. Okay, so, you know, if you build this right now, you turn it on, and you think, okay, it's working, everything's good, it's got a tan lock in here the way it should, and I hold it, and it stops turning. It stops turning. And it's like, uh-oh. What that means is inside here, okay, is that spring, that tension spring that is a safety spring, a safety mechanism. When you push this in, it'll give you one click, and then you got to give a second click. So it's 2 clicks, and then that will keep that from turning freely, okay? And then when you put your tan lock, your gear, your wheel, whatever you might have on there, then when you turn it on, it'll secure. Oh, hear that? That's bad. Don't ever do that. If you hear that clicking, that sound, that means that safety spring is lighting up, is releasing, and you're jamming your motor. Okay, so you can't let it run too long. If that happens, stop it right away. Okay? Now, when you pull things out of that, you just pull real hard, and sometimes it helps if you take your thumb and your index finger and you push against it. Then you can take this stuff off, okay? One at a time. Remember, if that tan lock is giving you a hard time, you can always put it between your fingers and press down, okay? Now, one of the things that I emphasized was securing your motor at all times, okay? You don't want this hanging or dragging when your car's driving, okay? There's a number of ways that you can do that, okay? You have your rod connectors down here. Now, this one's broken. It'll still work. And then you have your rod connectors right here. This will fit perfect into that. Then what you can do, depending on what it is you're building, you can slide a rod down through here and a rod down through here, and it will be secure. Okay, so then what you have is you have this nice secure connection here. Okay, and it stays in there. Even if one is broken or slightly broken, it'll stay there. If it's broken and you can't get it to stay there, you'd build it like that, and then we just rubber band it into place. Okay, that's why you have 2 rubber bands in your kit. Now, these rods are spaced out perfectly, so you can slide connectors on. They fit underneath like this, and they will be easily connected using a white rod. Okay, so that's one of the good ways, nice ways that you can connect a motor on. And then you would just go to the other side, you'd repeat that, and now you can secure this by attaching other things on there like so. Okay, now when you pull this off, don't ever pull the motor away. That's how those break underneath there. You slide these out first, and then everything will fall apart for you. Everything will come apart. Now, there is another way that is very common for connecting these and securing them. Okay, if you want, you can take a blue rod and slide it through like this, and then you can put a gray connector like that and a gray connector like this. Okay, just like that. Okay, that's just a standard link in there, and then you could, even though this is broken, you could still slide one in there, and a lot of times it will secure it, and then you can just attach your dark gray connector. You can attach it like this as well. Okay, and then what you can do is you can take a rubber band and wrap the rubber band. I'll grab one and show you. You can take your rubber band and you can secure it like this, okay? And that's one of the reasons why we have the rubber band. Now it's held in place, and even if it was broken up here, we could still hold it in place, okay? Remember that when you're done with your motor, okay, you take everything apart as carefully as you can, okay? Never twist or pull away like that. Always slide it off and away from the side. pull the rod out. Now this is where kids get in trouble because they often try to pull it apart right then and there. Just disconnect, okay? And this can be tricky. Slide it out, whoop, and then slide it out, set that down, take that off, and your motor's all set. Okay? Alrighty. Well, those are the basic motor connections. I hope you tried them out. If you haven't tried them out, take your motor and try them out now. Okay? Remember, be careful with the motor, and if it breaks, please tell me, because accidents do happen. Okay? Alright. Good luck, kids.